Assalamu alaikum, dear students of class 7, especially the students of English version. Hope by the grace of Almighty Allah you are well. This is the second lecture on information and data, chapter 11. In my previous class, I have discussed the basic of the chapter. Side by side, I have also discussed how can we make a frequency distribution table. Today, I am going to repeat the frequency distribution table making. Side by side, very most important topic of today's class is that how can we make a histogram and how can we locate the mode on a histogram. Dear learners, this is the data which is like previous class, but here in number C it was make a frequency distribution table. That means to draw a histogram we must have a frequency distribution table. Sometimes we see that the histogram the frequency distribution table is given directly. Sometimes that type of ungrouped data is given. In that time we have to make a frequency distribution table firstly, then using the frequency distribution table we have to make a histogram. So it just a creative question, it's a model question for your half yearly exam. Here the first question is what is primary and secondary data, that is we have to define the primary and secondary data. In number B, make a frequency distribution table of the data and draw a histogram of the table. Here B number is 100% repeated of the previous class, that is why I am not interested to explain in detail the solution of B. So just follow the solution. This is the solution, and last of all such type of frequency distribution table you will get. So just making that type of table, this is the activity or solution of number C. But very most important topic is that to draw a histogram. So to draw a histogram we must need a frequency distribution table. Dear all, to make a frequency distribution table we get some rectangles, and in between the rectangles there must not be any gap. So in the data we get the class intervals are 40 to 44, 45 to 49, 50 to 54, 55 to 59. If we use this interval on the graph paper, then in between the rectangles we get gap. So to remove the gap, this is the system that the upper limit of a class must be equal to the lower limit of the next class. Here the upper limit of first class is 44, the lower limit of next class second class is 45. 44 and 45 are not same. So to remove the gap in between the rectangles, when the upper limit of a class and the lower limit of the next class are not same, in that moment we have to make such type of new column. That means in that time we must subtract 0.5 from lower limit of each class and 0.5 will be added with the upper limit of each class. As a result we get 40 minus 0.5, this is 39.5, and 44 plus 0.5, this is 44.5. Later on the next class will be 44.5 to 49.5, this is 49.5 to 54.5, and last of all it is 55.5 to 59.5. That is in each class we subtract 0.5 from the lower limit and 0.5 is added to the upper limit. So to draw a histogram, that type of table is essential. That is why when the class interval, especially the upper limit of a class and the lower limit of the next class are not same, in that moment we will make that type of table. Now, using the table, we will draw a histogram. Dear all, this is the required histogram. First, we have to draw x axis and y axis, and that two axes must be intersect each other at a point that is known as origin, and origin is denoted by O. So, this is the system to draw a histogram. Along x axis we must represent the class interval or discrete class interval, and along y axis we must represent the frequency. So, against the classes, if we represent the frequency, then we get that type of diagram. This diagram is known as histogram. And after drawing the histogram, you have to describe the drawing method. On the graph paper, we will draw x-o-x dash, which is known as x-axis, and y-o-y dash, which is known as y-axis respectively, and we must write down the scale, that is along x-axis 1 unit equal to how much, and along y-axis 1 unit equal to how much. Here we considered 1 small square equal to 1 unit, and along y-axis we considered 5 small square equal to 2 unit. Along x-axis we represent the discrete class interval, and along y-axis we represent the frequencies. Then against the discrete classes we get corresponding rectangles which make a diagram, that is the required histogram. This is the required histogram according to the table. So, today's creative question, that means this question is highly important for your half yearly examination. Now, there is another topic which is from the histogram we have to determine the mode. We understood that how can we draw a histogram. So, in the previous question, non-group data or disorganized data is given. In that moment we have to determine, we have to make a frequency distribution table, but here we see that a frequency distribution table is given directly. Using this frequency distribution table, we have to draw a histogram and to locate the mode on the drawn histogram. So, today the topic is mode determination from histogram. Here frequency distribution table is given. We have to draw a histogram of the following table and find the mode from the table. So, let us say, just in the previous question we have discussed that when the upper limit of a class is not equal to the lower limit of the next class, in that moment we have to draw a new column. But here we see that the upper limit of first class is 15 and the lower limit of second class is 15, both the same. In that moment we need not to draw a new column. So, just to draw a histogram we just need the class interval and frequencies, corresponding frequencies. So, here no data is necessary, is essential to draw the histogram, that is why this table is sufficient to draw the histogram. Now, the histogram. Here along x-axis we represent the class interval, and along y-axis we represent the frequencies. These two axes intersect each other at point O, that is origin. Along x-axis we consider 1 small square equal to 1 unit, and along y-axis we consider 2 small squares equal to 1 unit. Now, we represent the class intervals. Against the class intervals we represent the frequencies. That means the first class is 10 to 15. Against 10 to 15 class the frequency is 3. So, against the class we draw a line segment parallel to x axis, and similarly Against the classes we draw the line segments, then we draw the perpendiculars, that is we join from the endpoints of the line segments to the x-axis. As a result, we get some rectangles. These rectangles make a diagram, and that diagram be the required histogram. Now we have to draw, we have to mention, we have to indicate, or we have to locate, or we have to determine the mode from the graph. The system is that firstly we must choose the highest or largest rectangle. Here we see that the rectangle against the 20 to 25 class, this is the largest rectangle. Now the top left point is added to the top left point of the next rectangle, and the top left point of highest rectangle, top right point of highest rectangle to the top right point of the previous rectangle. As a result, we get two line segments. These two line segments intersect each other at a point. From this meeting point, we have to draw a perpendicular to the x-axis, and this perpendicular intersect the x-axis as at a point. That point be the required mode. So here we get a line segment, two line segments, and from the meeting point of these two line segments we have drawn a perpendicular to the x-axis, and this perpendicular intersects the x-axis at a point which is 21.5. So this is the sorry, it will be it will be 23. I am extremely sorry. It will be 23. Sorry, along x-axis we considered one small square equal to 1 unit. So 20 to 25, when we count, the perpendicular intersect the x-axis at point 23. So the required mode will be 23. So this is the system to locate the mode from the histogram. Now we have to describe. The description is that same. How can we draw the histogram? First we will describe in detail, then I read out the description on the graph paper. First we draw x dash and y dash, which are known as x-axis and y-axis respectively. Along x-axis we consider one small square which is equal to 1 unit, and along y-axis we consider two small square equal to 1 unit. Along x-axis we represent discrete class interval. Here only class interval, no need discrete class interval. Here just we represent the class interval along x-axis, and along y-axis we represent the frequency. Then against the class intervals or against the classes we get corresponding rectangles, and which make a diagram which is a histogram. First we have to draw the histogram. Now we join the top left point of largest rectangle with the top left point of the next rectangle, and top right point of largest rectangle with the top right point of previous rectangle. As a result, we get two line segments which intersect each other at a point. From this meeting point we draw a perpendicular to the x-axis which is 23, and this 23 be the required mode which is located on the histogram. So the required mode is 23. So there all over today's class, mainly in this chapter, these are the key points. This is if you understood the this of my two classes, I expect that you will be able to answer the creative question from group D. In group D, this is the part of statistics, that is your 11th chapter, information and data. From this group, from this chapter you will get two questions, creative questions mainly, and especially your when there is a question paper is prepared for 70 marks, that is according to the system. From the chapter you will get two questions, you have to answer one creative question, and total marks is 10. and normally when there are 30 MCQs from the chapter, you will get 2 MCQs. So this is overall class, which are the important topics. I repeat, making frequency distribution table, to draw a histogram and to locate the mode on the histogram. So this is overall the today's class. I expect that if you follow my 2 classes, you will be able to acquire the knowledge on the chapter. So now today, practice the chapter and keep well everybody. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.